This video will describe the find replace rules. And these rules do exactly what their name indicates. They search for a particular string, and when that string is found, they will replace that string. We always use find replace rules to clean up the punctuation. For example, here's a find replace rule. It has an input string and an output string. This particular find replace rule looks for a space followed by a period. Whenever we insert any punctuation into the text, whether it's a period or a comma or a question mark, the punctuation mark is considered a separate constituent, and so it will have a space before and after it. So here, for a period, we need to delete the space that comes before a period. If we turn this rule off and we generate this verse, this sentence, we see that up here there's a space before the period. If we turn this rule back on, that space will be eliminated. So now the period is at the end of the final word. These rules, they operate on the translation up here. These rules don't apply down here in the analysis window. These rules don't know anything about morpheme boundaries or word boundaries or anything like that. They just simply look for a string that you specify in the text up here, and when that string is found, it will replace that string with whatever you specify as the output string. So we always use these rules to clean up the punctuation. If you have contractions, for example, I will, we change it to I'll, you will to you will, things like that. Do not to didn't. So it's just a simple, this is searching for a string. So you want to include spaces before and after, and then when it finds that input string, it will change it to this output string.
This video will describe a new type of find replace rule in TBTA. So let's go to our find replace rules right here, and we'll go to punctuation. Now, currently, we have a lot of punctuation rules. What we can do is actually collapse these down into a single rule. So let's double click on punctuation to create a new rule. And previously there was just this one type of rule, the standard type. Now there is a new type, the punctuation type. So let's click on that, and you can see that it creates for us kind of a table rule here. So let's add in a name for our rule. Let's just call it punctuation. Maybe we'll update that name later, but for now punctuation is okay. And the first thing that we can do here is delete spaces before certain characters. So if you look at some of the rules that I have, some of them, it's hard to see, but some of them involve deleting spaces before and after certain characters. So this one, for example, this one. So let's add those in right here. Anytime TBTA finds a period, we want to delete a space before it. Same with commas. And then we can think of other things as well, like question marks, exclamation marks, closing parentheses, closing implicit markers. In all of these cases, there's never a time when we want a space before these characters. So whenever TBTA finds one of those, if it also finds a space before them, it'll delete that space. Similarly, we don't want spaces after certain characters. So for example, a opening parenthesis and an opening implicit marker. There aren't ever times where we want these characters plus a space. So if TBTA finds a space after them, it will delete it. So that's really helpful for collapsing a number of these rules already. But for rules that don't involve deleting spaces, we can add our input string and output strings right here into this table. So it's very similar to the way that we've always done it. It's just that now we can write them here as a table rule, instead of having to write them individually in their own separate rules. So let's start, for example, with this one right here, which removes, let's see, so it removes the period after a question mark. So it changes a question mark and then a period to just a question mark. And as a comment, you'll want to add in a reference where this particular change will occur. So my current reference is Esther 2:15. It doesn't occur in this verse, but let's say it does for our our sake, S to 215, we'll enter that right there so that if we have issues with this and we want to look further at that, we know a reference that we can go to make to help us as we make our changes. So you of course will have a genuine reference. I'm just going to put S to 215 for now. Similarly, we can make it so that if you have an exclamation mark followed by a period, then we want just an exclamation mark. And I'll add another reference here. Let's say the same thing, S to 215. Right, so all of these rules that I have here on the right under punctuation, I can actually collapse down into this single punctuation rule by having it delete spaces before and after certain characters, and then finding and replacing certain strings. So that's the punctuation type. It's really easy to use and hopefully will make your life a little bit more simple.